Okay, let's see if I can do this. All right. Sorry. It's Sanchita, Royce, Fernando, and Nadia. Thank you all so much for joining this. So let me just back up and tell you what I why I wanted to interview everyone here. The team here decided, you know what, like, fuck it, let's just go and have a space just for people of color, non-binary, LGBTQ plus, all people for comedy. And I thought that was incredibly cool and incredibly, ambitious and brave. And that's why I wanted to talk to all of you. So if I can ask, who was the kind of driving force, or whose idea was it, like, popped in the head and connected everybody, or was this maybe like a group think?
Like, so the reason this happens because other things were happening that kind of pushed all this to the forefront. Because I think what happened, UCB and Second City, they posted on their social media Black Lives Matter, and then they got called out by their former Black artists and current Black artists saying no, they don't, because of the way that we were treated. So a lot of the UCB and Second City artists were the ones, Black artists, who kicked the door open for all the other POC. That's an important thing. And then there was conversations, there was confessions, there was people sharing their pain and trauma. It was a very like wound opening time for people, like people who had just learned to bury it, but now was a time to share it, so start sharing it. And one key thing that I think that we're all standing on the shoulders of, Second City, their community of Black artists, were, I think, were the first ones who came up and spoke very publicly and open about this. And they were the ones who really called out Second City and the majority white leadership to do something. And there was Sanchita made this very powerful post where she opened her heart and soul about her UCB experience and how, looking back, it was pretty fucked up, actually. She just maybe learned to bury it or not acknowledge certain things to just kind of fit in and just kind of like assimilate to that. I don't know. Sanchita, am I correct in that? Or
Yes, I mean, looking back, I think there were it was strange to be part of a majority white male class at most times. And I remember like it not feeling normal, but I acted like it was normal. And I think it's because of how normal that is for everyone else there.
That's really, really cool. And just to go back and give some context to what you were saying, during the shutdown of in America, when all the theaters were shutting down, UCB was, of course, was one of those, and pretty much laid off all of their staff. Bare bones staff. Of course, they kept their the training, some teachers, but a lot of the people that kind of made the people that made the theater happen were just let go without any warning or any type of thing, and to the point where they just didn't have a way out. And these are artists, these are improvisers, which is like, like, you're not making, unless you are UCB, you're not making money as an improviser typically. And secondly, these are people that are working in the cafe. They are spent their lives, their time, so much of their efforts to kind of be in this community, and just to be dropped like that, it was a lot of pain throughout all of it. And both of the theaters in LA and New York had this problem. And they ended up having was having to do a GoFundMe to just to have a few months of support or whatever, just through that. So I definitely, just to give a little context on that, I think that was a big red flag for me. Fernando, you did mention that you kind of had friends in Second City. Is everybody's kind of experience with improv here or comedy, is it specific to a certain theater, or what are your backgrounds in comedy?
So for obviously at different places, like for me, I started out over at the Pack Theater. I've done some shows at UCB and in Second City. So for me, it was more of a kind of like I guess a kind of compilation of like a couple of like the experiences of all of them. Just from the outside looking in, honestly. So it's when I first came to LA, like went to a couple of UCB shows, it was like there's no one that looks like me on any of these shows. Like there aren't many women, there aren't many people of color at all.
Right.
So, okay, well let me go to the try try a different theater. Or once I saw that, well, really everywhere was kind of the same thing. So it was like, all right, which one can I afford? Because UCB is expensive as hell.
Yeah, and they
And
do leverage that a lot. You know, like because of their popularity now, they leverage their prices for that very reason.
yeah, and after being in comedy for a few years and like kind of creating my own shows that focused on people of color, and kind of just like doing my own thing, because like no one else was doing it for us, so you got to do it yourself basically. I don't know what I noticed, like I guess about UCB specifically, is that there were a ton of people of color, like like you said, in the inner sanctum. There were a lot that were doing some of the classes and whatnot, but it was but to compare it to everyone else, like it was still like a small number in comparison.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't seem right. It was like a very homogenous society there.
Yeah.
And a homogenous type of comedy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I mean, and sure, there would be a lot of like individual shows that would buck against that, but those weren't on the main stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
Or they're late at night on a Tuesday or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of sidelined, and
Yeah.
and then with the other, with the other theaters, like when IO was around, well, they had their own set of issues, honestly.
Yeah.
Kind of why they don't exist anymore. But unfortunately for like the students that were affected by all that. But
What do you mean?
oh no, well with IO West, there were so many issues that a lot of the students would talk about, like with harassment, especially harassment, and not being heard from the leadership there. And then when were people that were trying to do the right thing, they get shunned away. And then it's like how IO Chicago closed. Somebody sent like an email. I say they were the only team of colors. Like, hey, what are we going to do here to fix this? The response was, oh, you know what? I'm just going to close the entire theater.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so let me ask the rest of everybody here. So when Sanchita, she put that notice on the UCB diversity group, Royce, what inspired you to reach out?
Well, once I saw her post, like I had already been, working on creating a comedy theater, I myself was like, wait a minute, there's more like-minded people that all want to do this. Hey, let's join forces. We don't, let's all do this together, because that's what this is all about. We're all, for the same goal here. We all want to create a space that works for everyone. A place where like everyone can feel safe, and protected, but also they can express themselves, artistically in whatever way they see fit. It's not set that, okay, you have to do it this way, or else like it's not, comedy, or like, and we're so that, women don't have to be sexualized on stage. If you're Black, I don't have to play like the Black guy. I don't have to be a thug. I don't have to be, some other, stereotypical, thing. It's like, so I've been, working on creating this type of space. Once I saw that post, I was like, okay, hey, let's do it together. Like, let's join our resources of what we have done. And like, let's make this thing happen. Like, let's take the momentum of all of this going on. Like, everyone who has had all these similar experiences at any theater, like not just UCB, because like UCB was never my home. Like, my home was at a different theater. So, but we all still felt the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.